And welcome again to Cottage Talk Full Time. I'm Russ Goldman. This is our initial reaction show to Fulham's 3-1 loss in the FA Cup quarterfinal at Old Trafford. I'm calling it the moments of madness at Old Trafford. That is going to be what everyone's going to be talking about in regards to this match. I'm going to be talking about that and give you my take. If you're watching live, please feel free to share your comments on what we just watched. An unfortunate 20-minute ending to this match. We're just going to talk about it. The moments of madness just changes everything. And the bigger point of the moments of madness is the fallout from the madness. And I'll be sharing my thoughts on that. The big picture coming out of this, I think that hurts as much as the moments of madness. What happens next? So before I get to all of this, I want to just say, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. I'm recording this maybe 10 minutes after the match ended. I just wanted to get this off my chest, share my thoughts on it. If anyone's watching live, thank you for watching with me and listening to what I have to share on this right after this unfortunate 3-1 loss for Fulham. And I'm going to start here. Before we go into the moments of madness, I have to talk about this because it's going to get lost. And I hope Fulham supporters focus some on this part of it. Fulham were the better side for 70-plus minutes. Let's call it what we watched. They were dominant. They were the better side. All I kept hearing, the commentary, is how flat Manchester United were, how badly they were playing. Fulham made Manchester United play very poorly at Old Trafford for 70-plus minutes. They were the better side. They deserved the goal to go ahead. They had opportunities to get a second, and David De Gea came up big for them. Huge save on Mitro. If they're up 2-0, who the hell knows? But they were up 1-0, and they were in full control of this match. That is what is so disheartening when I look back at this. I will give credit to Manchester United for doing what they had to do to win the match. They created the opportunity which caused the madness. Credit to them. But you got to give me 5 minutes to talk about how Fulham were the better side for 70-plus minutes and how encouraging it was to watch the return of Paulinho and how he affected Reed, how he affected Robinson, how he affected Tete. He affected everyone. I kept reading how the fullbacks weren't playing well against Arsenal, how much better they were here. I heard how Reed did not play well in the last match from a pundit over here. Paulinho steps in, Reed plays his role, and they dominated the midfield. That's the part of this that's going to get lost for me, is how Fulham played for 70-plus minutes. They made me proud to be a Fulham supporter. They gave me hope, and that's the problem sometimes with hope. Then you have the other side, and we'll talk about the other side in just a few minutes. Like I said, if you're watching live, please feel free to share your comments. I'll look at them, and I will share some of them as I go through this. So when I look at this, like I talked about just to start the show, I have to focus on how well Fulham played all across the board. The fullbacks, Diop, Ream, Leno, everyone played their role. Mitro, before his madness, played very well, I thought. All the players stepped up, and they outclassed Manchester United for 70-plus minutes. They made Manchester United play bad. I don't want to hear that it was an off day for them. Fulham made them look bad. And then after that, we have the moment of madness. And like I said, they created that situation. So as I mentioned, you got to give them credit. You got to give them credit for finishing up the match. But I'm sorry, Fulham outplayed them for 70-plus minutes. I have to start there. That's how I feel. If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. I'm proud of how they played for that 70-plus minutes. After that, that's where we're going to go right now. So let's talk about the situation that leads to the moments of madness. It's not a moment, it's moments. It's plural because several things happen. And we have to talk about Williams' handball. It was the right call. You can watch the replays. It was absolutely the right call. Not a fan of the ref, but he actually did the right thing. VAR checked it. It was the right call. He initially called for a corner, and VAR told him to take a look at it. It was the right call. It just was. And at that point, that was bad enough because you knew by watching it that William was going to get a red card and that they were also going to get a penalty. So that was going to change the match. It was going to be difficult for Fulham to play down a man and see this out. Very difficult, extremely difficult. That's part one. So you have that. Right after that situation, they haven't even given the decision yet. You have Marco Silva going crazy, and he gets a red card. He gets sent off. That's going to affect Fulham moving forward. And then once Kavanaugh comes back from looking at VAR, he makes the call, and then Mitro gets in his face, bumps him, he gets a red card. That's another moment of madness. What Mitro did was horrible. After the way he played for the majority of the match up to that point, for him to go ahead and do that and just add insult to injury was just horrific, horrible. And it's going to cost Fulham very much so moving forward. It really is. And I'll talk about that to finish up the show. But what I'm looking at right now is what Mitro did, what Marco Silva did, and also what the players did in the whole situation. And I've seen this before, and I kept my mouth shut. When they have surrounded the ref, they've gotten very aggressive in other matches. And I'm just thinking they need to stop doing this. There needs to be discipline from not just the players, but also from Marco Silva. It starts with him. So I'm not blaming him for everything. I'm just saying that Marco Silva's, the way that he has acted upon himself, it does translate to the players. The players are responsible for their own actions, but it doesn't help when you see your manager do what he does all the time. And he crossed the line here. He deserved to be sent off. I love Marco Silva. I hope he's Fulham's manager for years to come, but he got what he deserved. It was terrible what he did. It was terrible what Mitro did. It actually was the right call. So coming up next on the second half of this full-time show, I'm going to talk about the fallout from the madness. Okay, so to make matters worse for Fulham, it looks like you're probably looking at, with William, a 3-match ban. Marco Silva, it could be 1. We'll have to see what happens with him. I'm thinking it's at least going to be 1. The situation with Mitro could be even worse. So we're going to have to see how they rule on this. Could be 3, just watching ESPN Plus. They think it could be longer than that. So the actions during the madness could affect Fulham for the end of the season. And it just didn't need to be that way. They lost their head. Marco Silva lost his head. Mitro lost his head. I'll also say several of the players, I thought, lacked a little bit of self-control during this moments of madness. And I'm sorry, I love the Fulham players. They played fantastic today. And I just think that the situation got out of control and they let their emotions run a little bit wild. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out. But I think this is going to affect Fulham way beyond this FA Cup loss. It's going to affect them for several matches because going back to the way I started the show, how well did Fulham look with William back in, playing down the side with Anthony Robinson? They had something going on with Pauline. It was that connection. Well, now William's out. I don't blame William. I actually don't blame him for the red card. It was just that moment that, again, it was the wrong decision. You could say that maybe he didn't know what he was doing. I don't know. Only he really knows what he was doing. But he's going to face potentially, we're going to have to see, I believe, if I was reading correctly, potentially a 3-match ban. We'll have to see how this all plays out. I could be wrong. So, again, this is right after the match, but the suspensions are going to be what could potentially really hurt Fulham. And that's what really concerns me and overshadows what I thought was just a tremendous 70-minute plus performance. Like I said, I think what we learned from this, and I'll talk about this in a future show, is how valuable João Palhinha is to Fulham Football Club. He changed them today. He absolutely changed them. That's what's so sad about all this, because with his inclusion and Harrison Reed playing his role back to where it was before, Fulham looked like the team that we've seen for a good part of this season. They looked dominant for 70 plus minutes. It's just terrible how this all played out and how Fulham are going to have to deal with this moving forward. And listen, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me. I certainly understand fans that might disagree with my thoughts on this. I'm just very disappointed by how this all ended. And I'm sure all Fulham supporters are disappointed too. I'm going to share some comments. This is from my friend Chris Goodwin, who is not a Fulham supporter. This is what he said. For 72 minutes, Fulham were in control and cruising to a 1-0 win. Then the Fulham fans and most of the players have been let down by Marco Silva and Mitro. Chris, I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm going to totally agree with you on that. They were let down. Very good point. Stephen Turner says, biased Manchester referee for a Man United fixture. I've heard some of that. I don't know if I want to go on that, Stephen. I understand how you feel on that. And that was a question going into this. I'm just going to say I've watched it back. I've seen the replay of this. It was the right call. So I have a hard time getting too hard on Kavanaugh on this one particular call. Chris Melling says, an amazing performance from the boys up until the incident. We lost our heads and we're likely to lose Mitro for a few games. Seeing the way the lads played for 70 minutes gave me real hope after disappointing 2 previous games. Chris, I'm right there with you. That's why I wanted to lead with this. That to me is something that I can take out of this. We saw the Fulham team that we've seen the majority of the season. They were the better team for 70 plus minutes. They just were. So that's one of the things I'm going to really hold my head on. And I'm going to say, you know what? I got that. This is from our friend Chris Davidson. Mitrovic was a disgrace, and so was Silva. Mitrovic deserves a very long ban, and Silva needs to apologize. Silva should have been calming things down. An embarrassing day. Okay. This is from Gary D. FA will throw the book at Fulham. Gary, you're probably right. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. This is also from Gary D. Ref was from Greater Manchester, thus shouldn't have been allowed. It could only happen to Fulham. Mitro will get more than a 3-match ban. Silva also will be banned from sideline for weeks. This is from Goran. Both Mitro and Silva should be sanctioned by the club also. The behavior is unacceptable. Goran, you bring up a good point. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I've been critical of Brentford with the way that they've treated the situation with Ivan Toney, because I think that Brentford should not be playing Ivan Toney right now. Goran, Fulham the club should take action against both Mitro and Silva. I'm with you on that. I hope they take action on both of them. If we're being fair, if I'm going to criticize another player from another side, I am going to criticize my own team, my own manager when they deserve it. I agree with you, Goran. I agree with you. Fans might disagree with us on that. I think we're right. The club should do something. They should sanction both Mitro and Silva. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a ban. I don't know if that's a fine. But they need to take some action from the way that Mitro and Silva acted in this. It was embarrassing. I'm glad that you said that, and I'm with you on that. Let's see what else Chris Goodwin has to say. The FA will throw the book at Mitro and could be banned for at least 6 games. We shall see. We shall see. All right. And that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. I will have more discussions on this. I just wanted to do something right after and just let it all out. Very disappointing day for Fulham Football Club. We will have better days. This was not one of them. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, now part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.